Hey guys, it's John here again, co-founder of Sama Labs, host of Where Do We Grow Now, our second episode. I'm here with Scott Desgrosseilliers, CEO of Wicked Reports. Scott, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, I'm excited to talk to you. You know,
Always excited to talk to you.
yeah, I mean, we deal a lot of media buyers, and you guys know what you're doing, so it's always fun to have a conversation on these data topics that are near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, I mean, the point today would be more to talk about obviously the platform Wicked Reports. We are publicly a big advocate of the platform for well over 2 years or so now, and it's been a lifesaver. So I'm eager to get into the topic of the platform, but just in a high level, would you mind just sharing just a 10,000 foot view on you, how you started the platform, how it came to fruition, and then this way we can get a little bit of foundation there.
Sure, that'd be great. So I started working on the concepts that became Wicked Reports late 2012, early 2013. And I was doing some consulting with Keep, which used to be called Infusionsoft, and a friend of mine I had rigged up on all sorts of Infusionsoft stuff, and he complained about Facebook not working. And he said, I spent 4 grand, I got 12,000 clicks, but I only got one sale. I'm not going to advertise on Facebook. And I was like, well, maybe maybe they're going to convert later on. And he's like, well, how am I going to know? And that one question led me on the odyssey that turned into Wicked Reports. And for that advertiser, it turned into not only did Facebook work, but he made 10 to 1 on his money. It just took 3 months to get that return on ad spend. It wasn't an immediate click, buy, make money. And that was back when Facebook was cheap and easy. That was a lot tougher game. And so that delayed conversions or clicks that convert on other channels, all that stuff was already happening way back in the heyday of internet marketing launching and becoming a big popular thing. And so I launched Wicked Reports 2014, April 1st, 2014. And we've been growing steadily, mostly word of mouth and events and things, and just the platform, the data works. And so now our vision for it going forward is we're going to have AI powered insights using our full funnel attribution, and then you're going to be able to realize those benefits with one click optimizations in the ad platforms. So
Wow.
rather than, so people have success, but there's still some learning curve and some thinking, and everyone's busy, taxed for time, can make mistakes if it's manual. And now it's going to be just custom, already tell you what the insights are. You're going to have your own custom rules in there, and then you're going to click a button and they're going to instantly apply. So it's catapulting forward here. The
Beautiful.
realization, the vision I always had was how can we make the data, how can people automatically act on the data? So if they get the data and they act on it, they never leave us. And if they don't act, they always leave us. So we got to figure that out. So we think we figured it out. We're going to be a big summer for us.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to get into the specifics of that. I mean, so you had I think the really important thing about Wicked is that it isn't just a Me Too software, right? Obviously, everybody jumped, not everybody, but there's a lot of competitors that had jumped to the gun with once iOS changed their privacy, regulations and restrictions that made it harder for advertisers. A lot of apps and softwares that do help with attribution or at least give some sort of clarity came out of the woodwork. But you had been working on this way before that happened. So was there a turning point, or did the vision change when iOS made those changes for advertisers?
Well, when iOS came out, it was great for us as well. I mean, a lot of competition came in, but it was still, it was amazing for us because instead of having to educate people on why they needed attribution, they came in and were like, we need a measurement solution. So it was less about convincing them why our data was better than Facebook's with it what when it was. Now it was like dramatically better ROAS we're going to show. Not every time. Your ads might not be doing
Right.
well, but in general, the difference over time is quite dramatic. So
Right.
it's an easier sale in the sense that the people are already problem aware. They already have they're already hurting and need the data. And I'm just
You were almost like it was
like,
almost
why
like
are
a
we better than someone else? Versus
right.
before it was like, why do I care?
Right. So it was like a almost like a "I told you so" moment for you, and we told you you're going to need some sort of source of truth here. Platforms are not truthful. They're either you're duping results, or they're just completely inaccurate. Your CPAs are misreporting, so it's harder for an advertiser to make better buying decisions if you're not getting the real data, right? And then someone who we used to be able to obviously rely on, Facebook natively much better than we do now today, and obviously that's where the platform is so valuable for us. So so that's super helpful. So was there so I guess talk to us about how you view the platform. Now we're talking about AI. AI is the biggest topic today. You look at Chat GPT, nine-figure users in the like shortest period of time ever. So people are adapting to or adopting AI much more rapidly than I think a lot of their platforms prior to it. So was this something that you knew was the future, or was it once it really became part of everyday life now, or slowly becoming everyday life, and people are using it for more and more tasks? Was it like, hey, this is the next evolution of the platform to incorporate this to make marketers' lives easier?
Yeah, so what we're doing is first we have custom rule sets. You can build in the humans are going to build in their own analysis and it will already be in there. So you'll just have a list of based on the way you like to run your media or the way we think you should interpret the data, you'll have two different insights that tell you based on these rules, here's what to do. So there'd be no more concept of even looking at, you can still look all you want, but you won't have to because the rules will already run. Now, where the AI gets interesting is when it's going to make detect things that are outside the rules you already had, or they're going to be able to scan large data sets and maybe pluck out the most valuable things, relationships between. Now, that's a more advanced use case than us just asking Chat GPT, "What's my lifetime value?" or something, and that
Right.
takes more time to get right. And you need a unique data set that you can train it on. We've had 10 years of conversion data to work on. So it's not just, the past year and certain types of use cases. We have them all in there. But you got to be careful because Chat GPT is very convincing even when it's like crazy when it's wrong. So you got to build in a lot of safeguards and nailing the prompts is not a trivial task.
Mhm.
It's quite a bit to it. So that's why we didn't just rush out, hey, let Chat GPT answer your data because I've already got that working in my own little sandbox area, but it's not good enough in my opinion because there's risk of error.
Yeah, I,
And
I think there's always, yeah, there's always some sort of human involvement still, right? From a marketer, even on the creative side, creative obviously being a big influence of how well your marketing does, right? Um, there's some editing things that make the tasks easier, but I think the oversight still has to be human for at least as far as we can predict, right? That may
yeah,
change in the next 7 days with something else coming out, but yeah, I think there's nuances of people's business infrastructure that AI probably won't adapt to pretty quickly, right? So I think that's helpful to have maybe some of the thinking taken out of it to help you nail
some of
down
it,
where the
yeah.
issues might be, and then you can maybe open the hood a little bit more and see through it more too.
So our first set of the thinking is going to be all very tightly controlled with human based, and then the AI is like additional insights that you can, almost like a disclaimer, like they should be good, but let's make sure, and before you run them, run it by us or things like that to be safe. Because
Mhm.
yeah, I find that it's almost like I used to work for Motorola when the cell phones first came out, when people first had them. I was do databases for Motorola, and phones come out, it's like, man, everyone's life's going to be so great because you get access to all this information, you can stay in contact. And it wasn't the case. Now it's a pain in the ass, right? It's like there's a lot of downside to having a phone. There's a lot of
Right.
downside to all the information we have access to, a lot of negative, and it hasn't made life like so easy and on autopilot. And it hasn't got rid of the need for human discernment and intelligence. So I'm not really like terrified of AI right now. I mean, maybe a couple evolutions from now, I'll be like, uh-oh. But right now,
It's making
it's just
people a lot.
it's a useful tool, but it's not replacing. It's getting good for rough drafts,
Mhm.
and then
Well,
images.
concepts like how do you use it as a building block, right? It's not the A to Z. It's going to maybe help you with a third of the work in terms of thinking ideas and using that to leapfrog into something else. or
Yep.
at least how do you manipulate it? But yeah, I agree with you. I think AI and phones. It's be making people much less patient, I guess, because information is just hitting you from all different angles all day long. So switching gears a little bit, I run Sama day to day. You're running obviously Wicked, and seeing that the platform grow. For anyone else looking to get into SaaS or build their own platform, in your experience, what has been some challenges that you've had to overcome to oversee the concept and just the day to day? Anything that you would tell someone looking to build, not necessarily in the marketing space, it could be anything SaaS related, but what's some things that you've learned along the way that you think someone might take away and say, you know what, that's good perspective that I can use as I go into this venture?
Sure, because I've been keeping a diary of the ups and downs of running a business that I'll
I like that.
hopefully publish once I have a happy merry exit into the future. But like we got close to like massive exits with household names that fell apart. We chased I've done a lot of it's a lot's happened in 10 years. And for me, you should always be focused on, am I supplying what the customers need and are willing to pay for? And then always looking at that, because when we took our eyes off that ball, it would hurt us. And when we focus on, okay, let's keep meeting with people, what do they need, how can we make their lives easier and more effective, that's when we leap forward in our growth phase. And it's been less about like, with our particular group. So I think if you provide enough value to your end user, they tell their friends and you grow
Right.
without having to figure out all the other, because growth is another big challenge. You got to have a channel that you can profitably, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to run ads. Well, those are expensive, particularly in SaaS. It's a multi-step consideration process. Or, oh, I'm going to let them use it for free. Well, yeah, a bunch of people are coming for free, but are they going to get enough aha moments fast enough to come back and then to upsell into your paid tiers? There's a lot of challenges with building and running your own software company. It's not for the faint of heart. I mean, I love it, but it takes everything you got. It's not like, yeah, and you read like the unicorn stories of these people that make it big, but yeah, that's newsworthy because there's like, millions of software companies and there's like, however many unicorns, and they're probably a lot less now after the tech, downfall here. But then there's going to be more made after that. So that would be my number one point, is just obsess over your customer, and I'd say as quick as possible, get measurement in there if you can, that what cohort, what is it that makes someone stay and pay? Like you
Right.
need to find things, not gut feel. And that's
Right.
really challenging to do in our particular space because there's just a lot going on. And a lot of them it is. Like HubSpot's famous thing was they have to use 5 features. Slack is, 100 messages or something. And I mean, those are household names that, whatever. But the point is, they knew they had you at that point. And so that's what I strongly recommend. Figuring that out before you get all excited about what big JV partner or webinar is going to make you rich. So and so is going to tweet about you. That stuff then really doesn't move the needle as much as you think.
Yeah, it's a very it's a shiny toy for some people, right? And I think staying focused in the current as opposed to, hey, it'll be cool when we exit, knowing what that category has as a multiplier. My last guest, Corey Epstein, was the founder of Distilled, which is an apparel brand. He actually had done an exit, and his point was it's very hard to get acquired today, especially in the climate right now where a lot of investors and private equity are a little bit more gun shy, right? Because of just the economic climate. So you obviously want to stay focused in the now because you don't want to get too out of your own depth where you start losing the ability to, like you said, provide value, which was always our DNA. Our mantra was help and provide value for brands, right? Because our DNA was also brand building as operators, translated into an agency experience, right? To take that, what we learned as a brand, and then help brands through the things that we've experienced ourselves. So yeah, I totally agree with you, and that's much easier said than done for most people, especially when you're a new, entrepreneur, a solopreneur, and just getting started. It's helpful to have a mentor. Did you have a mentor when you were really going through this process, or did you kind of learn as you went?
I mean, I had two, I'd say, mentors that somewhat help. I didn't necessarily look at them that way, more advisors, but people like one guy that had been there, done that, Manu Matthew, through attribution. He had sold his attribution company to Nielsen. He's one of the only people in the world that's done what I want to do. So I listened to that guy. And then
There you
my
go.
father-in-law was great support, just with general business acumen and as a sounding board. So those two definitely helped out. Um, Out of, I had help from others too, but those two kind of stand out in my mind when you ask that.
Awesome. Well, I think we covered a lot of really important topics. Wicked, I think, like I said before, big advocate. The team uses it. We recommend it as much as we can. It's almost mandatory to have that built into their system for a brand that's struggling. Most brands that do come to us, they're trying to navigate some of the rocky waters that are advertising today. Um, and this is something that does help pave the way for some clarity. And I love all the new features you guys are rolling out. Super excited to dive into that a little bit deeper. But yeah, definitely encourage people to check out Wicked Reports. URL is just wickedreports.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll put a link down in the description at the bottom for everyone to check out. And Scott, any other points you want to make before we wrap this up?
Just that, if you're doing advertising out there, attribution does help because what we're finding is that we track a lot more ROAS than Facebook, and Google now has its black box attribution. So is that really going to tell you go spend on another channel, not Google? No way. and and then with Google Analytics 4, I mean, particularly these channels all play together. If you rely on a pristine Google Analytics 4 setup, it's going to downplay the impact of some of the social channels just because of the way it chooses to measure. And so if you don't have accuracy in the true picture, you're going to spend less where it's actually making you money, and then that means your competition is in there buying the traffic. So I'd urge people to I mean, obviously that's a vested pitch for Wicked. I'm biased, but
Of
we've seen
course.
it again and again. You should try to get a source of truth that you can trust and prove, because it'll help you retain your clients, or if you're the media buyer, to help you impress on your boss what you're doing, and ultimately it'll help you. The purpose of the podcast, it'll help you grow. So
Beautiful, man. Love that. Well, Scott, thanks so much, man. And we'll see you next time, okay?
thanks, John. Take care.
All right.
Bye.